Hello friends, and welcome to the fourth installment of a series of short stories entitled The Sandman's Hour. The narration will be followed by about an hour of gentle sleep sounds to help you drift to sleep. If you enjoy these readings, I would encourage you to subscribe and click the like button to ensure the continuation of these narrations. And now, find yourself a place where you can relax. Your couch, your chair, your bed. Make yourself comfortable in that place and take a deep breath. There's nothing to think or worry about, but only listen to these stories and get ready for sleep. And let us begin. The Pink and Blue Eggs. I tell you, I saw them with my own eyes, said Old White Hen, standing on one foot with her neck outstretched and her bill wide open. One was pink and the other was blue. They were just like any other egg as far as size, but the color, think of it, pink and blue eggs. Whoever could have laid them? Old White Hen looked from one to the other of the group of hens and chickens as they stood around her. Well, I know that I didn't, said Speckled Hen. You needn't look at me, said Brown Hen. I lay large white eggs, you know it. Every one of you. They are the best eggs in the yard, if I do say it. Oh, I would not say that, said White Hen. You seem to forget that the largest egg ever seen in this yard was laid by me, and it was a little on the brown color. White eggs are all well enough, but give me a brown tone for quality. You never laid such a large egg as that, but once, replied Brown Hen. And everybody thought it was a freak egg. So the least said about it, the better, it seems to me. It is plain to understand how you feel about that egg, said White Hen, but it does not help us to find out who laid the blue and pink eggs. Where did you see them? Asked Speckled Hen. On the table by the window of the farmhouse, said Old White Hen. I flew up on a barrel that stood under the window, and then I stretched out my neck and looked in the window. And there on the table, in a little basket, I saw those strange-looking eggs. Perhaps the master had bought them for some one of us to sit on and hatch out, said Brown Hen. Well, I for one refuse to do it, said White Hen. I think it would be an insult to put those gaudy things into our nests. I am sure I will not hatch them, said Speckled Hen. I would look funny hiking around here with a blue chick and a pink chick beside me, and I a speckled hen. No, I will not mother fancy-colored chicks. The master can find another hen to do that. You do not think for a minute that I would do such a thing, I hope, said Brown Hen. I only mention the fact that the master might have such an idea, but as for mixing up colors, I guess not. Perhaps White Hen is colorblind, said Speckled Hen. The egg she saw may be white after all. If you doubt my word or my sight, go and look for yourselves, said White Hen, holding her head high. You will find a blue and a pink egg, just as I told you. Off ran Speckled Hen and Brown Hen, followed by many others, and all the chicks in the yard. One after another, they flew to the top of the barrel and looked in the window at the eggs White Hen had told them of. It was all too true. The eggs were blue and pink. Peep, 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 peep. We want to see the blue and pink eggs too, cried the chickens. We never saw any, and we want to look at them. Oh dear, why did I talk before them? Said Brown Hen. They will not be quiet unless they see, and how in the world shall I get them up to that window? Did it ever occur to you not to give them everything they cry for? Said White Hen. Say no once in a while. It will save you a lot of trouble. I cannot bear to deny the little darlings anything, said Brown Hen, plucking her little brood and trying to quiet them. Well, you better begin now, for this is one of the things you will not be able to do, said White Hen, strutting over to the doghouse to tell the story of the blue and pink eggs to Towser. Wouldn't it be just too awful if the master puts those eggs in one of our nests? Asked White Hen, when she had finished her story. Oh, laughed Towser. That is a good joke on you. Don't know your own eggs when you see them. Don't tell me I'll eat those fancy-colored eggs, said White Hen, looking around to see if any of her companions were within hearing distance. I know, I never did. But you did, said Towser, laughing again. I heard the master say to my little mistress, if you want eggs to color for Easter, take the ones that White Hen laid. They are not so large as the others, and I cannot sell them so well. Towser, if you will never mention what you have just told me, I will tell you where I saw a great big bone this morning, said White Hen. I was saving it for myself. I'd like to pick at one once in a while. But you shall have it if you promise to keep secret what you just told me. Towser promised, and White Hen showed where it was hidden. A few days after, Brown Hen said, I wonder when Master is going to bring out those fancy eggs. If he leaves them in the house much longer, no one will be able to hatch them. Oh, I forgot to tell you that those eggs were not real eggs after all, said White Hen, but only Easter eggs for the master's little girl to play with. So we had all our worry for nothing. Towser told me, but don't say a word to him, for I did not let on that we were worried and didn't know they were only make-believe eggs. He thinks he is so wise, you know. It would never do to let him know how we were fooled. The contest. The old white rooster was dead. The hens stood in groups of 3s and 4s all around the yard. The turkeys were gathered around the big gobbler and seemed to be talking very earnestly. The ducks stood around the old drake, who was shaking his head emphatically as he talked. The geese were listening very attentively to the gander, and he was stretching his neck and seemed to be trying to impress them with its length. I see no reason now why I should not be king of the yard, he was saying. White Rooster is dead, and there is no other rooster to take his place. I am going to see the hens and ask them what they think. White Rooster is dead, he said to them, and I think I should be king of the yard. My neck is very long, and I can see over the heads of all the fowls. I see no reason why I should not take the place of White Rooster. The turkeys and the geese, seeing the gander approach the hens, ran as fast as they could to hear what he was saying. The turkey gobbler, hearing the last part of the gander's remark, said, "How can you say that you can see over all heads? Have you forgotten me and my height? And as for being king," he said, "the rooster never should have been cock of the walk. I am a much more majestic-looking bird than any rooster. No, indeed, you should never think of ruling, Sir Gander. I should be king of the yard." The gobbler walked away, spreading out his wings and letting them drag on the ground and gobbling very loudly. The ducks and the drake stood listening to all this talk, and as the gobbler walked away, the drake said, "I cannot understand why anyone should think of being king when I know so much of the world. I am the one to rule, for I have been all around the pond, and it is very large. Because of my knowledge, I think I should be king." "He must not be king," whispered one old hen to another. "He would make us go in the water, and we will all be drowned." They had talked a long time without reaching any decision when the dog happened along. "What is the matter?" he asked. "The old white rooster is dead," said the gobbler, who had returned with his family to hear the discussion. "And I think I should be king, and the drake and the gander think they should. But, of course, you can see that I am best suited to rule the yard." "You can settle that very easily," said the dog. "You can all take a turn at being king, and in that way you will know who is best suited to rule." And so it was decided, and the gobbler was the first one to go on trial. The poor hens tagged along after the turkeys, for the gobbler insisted upon parading all around the yard. The gander and the drake would not follow behind, so the gander and his family walked on one side of the gobbler, and the drake and his family on the other. The poor hens wept as they followed behind. "I never was so humiliated in my life," said one old hen, "and it is not right." The next day, there was so much dissatisfaction because of the gobbler's overbearing way that the dog decided that the drake must take his turn. "Everybody must learn to swim," said the drake as soon as he was appointed ruler. "Come down to the pond," and off he started, his family waddling after him. "What did I tell you?" said the old hen. "This will be the end of us." The geese did not mind being in the water part of the time, but the turkeys set up such a gobble, and the hens cackled so loudly that the dog had to decide right there that the drake was not a suitable king. The gander, knowing that his time had come, stretched his neck and looked very important. "You need not go near the pond," he said to the hens, "but you must learn to fly." And he spread out his wings as he spoke and flew over the fence, the geese following him. The turkeys flew to the top of the fence and roosted there, but the hens and ducks stood on the ground, looking up at them in the most discouraged way, and at the gobbler, who gobbled at them, saying, You are to be pitied, for you do not see all the sights we do, and you never can fly to the top of this fence. There is the master, he said. He is coming down the road, and he has something under his arm. I'll tell you what it is when he gets nearer. The hens were trying to look under the fence and through the holes. The gobbler looked for a minute, and then he said, I do believe. Then he stopped. Yes, it is, he continued, looking again. It's a rooster. The gobbler flew down, and the turkeys followed, and the master drove the gander and his family back to the yard. You will get your wings clipped tomorrow, he said. And then, from under his arm, he released a big yellow and black rooster, which flew to the ground, looked about, spread his wings, and crowed in a way that plainly said, I am cock of this walk and king of this yard. Let none dispute my rights. The drake collected his family and started for the pond, and the gander and geese followed along behind. The turkey spread his wings and held his head high as he strutted away with his family. But he did not impress the new rooster. He was ruler, and he knew it. Now the sun will know when to rise, said one hen, and we shall know when to awake. Yes, said another, and we have had a narrow escape. It looked for a while as if our family were to lose its social standing. But now that we have a new king, we can hold up our heads again and look down on the others, if we have to go to the top of the woodpile to do it. The dog laughed to himself as he walked away. I knew all the time, he said, that the new rooster was coming, but I thought it would do them good to know they were only fitted to care for their own flock. Why the morning glory sleeps. One day, the flowers got into a very angry discussion over the sun, of whom they were very fond. Surely you all must know that he loves me best, said the rose. He shines upon me and makes me sweeter than any of you, and he gives me the colors that are most admired by men. I do not see how you can say that, said the dahlia. You may give forth more fragrance than I can, but you cannot think for a second that you are more beautiful. Why, my colors are richer than yours, and last much longer. The sun certainly loves me the best. The modest lily looked at the dahlia and said in a low, sweet voice, I do not wish to be bold, but I feel that the sun loves me, and that I should let you know that he gives me more fragrance than any of you. Oh, here Lily, said the others in chorus. She thinks the king of day loves her best. The lily hung her head and said no more, for the other flowers quite frightened her with their taunts. How can any of you think you are the best beloved of the sun, said Golden Glow, when you behold my glowing color which the sun bestows on me? Do any of you look so much like him as I do? No, indeed, he loves me best. The hollyhock looked down on the others with pitying glances. It is plain to be seen that you have never noticed that the sun shines on me with more warmth than on you. And now I must tell you he loves me best and gives me the tenderest of his smiles. See how tall I am and how gorgeous are my colors. He loves me best. When it comes to sweetness, I am sure you have forgotten me, said the honeysuckle. Why, the king of day loves me best. You may be sure. He makes me give forth more sweetness than any of you. You may be very sweet, said the pansy, but surely you know that my pet name is Heart's-ease, and that the sun loves me best. To none of you does he give such velvet beauty as to me. I am nearest his heart and his best beloved. The Morning Glory listened to all this with envy in her heart. She did not give forth sweetness as many of the others. Neither did she possess the beauty of the rose or the pansy. If only I could get him to notice me, she thought. I am dainty and frail, and I am sure he would admire me if only he could behold me. But the others are always here, and in such glowing colors that poor little me is overshadowed by their beauty. All day Morning Glory thought of the sun, and wondered how she could attract his attention to herself. And at night she smiled, for she had thought of a plan. She would get up early in the morning and greet him before the other flowers were awake. She went to bed early that night so that she might not oversleep in the morning, and when the first streak of dawn showed in the sky, Morning Glory opened her eyes and shook out her delicate folds. The dew was on her, and she turned her face toward the sun. As soon as she peeped into the garden, the sun beheld her. "How dainty and lovely you are," he said. "I have never noticed before the beauty of your colors, Morning Glory," and he let his warm glances fall and linger upon her. The sunflower all this time was watching with jealous eyes, for she was the one who had always welcomed the sun, and this morning he seemed to have entirely forgotten her. Still, Sunflower kept her gaze upon them, and wondered what she could do to win back her king from the delicate little Morning Glory. But as she looked, she saw the Morning Glory sway and nod her head. "She is going to sleep," said the Sunflower. "His warm breath makes her drowsy, or else she was up so early that she cannot keep awake." While the Sunflower watched, sure enough, the Morning Glory nodded and closed her eyes. She was fast asleep, and the fickle Sun, seeing that she no longer looked upon him, looked away and beheld the Sunflower, looking toward him with longing eyes. "Good morning, King," she said, as she caught his eye, and she was wise enough to let him know she had seen him before. So the Sun smiled and turned his face upon them all, and the Sunflower kept to herself what she had seen, knowing full well that she was the one who knew best how to keep his first and last glances. A little later, one of the flowers called out, "Look at Morning Glory. She is still sleeping. Let us tell her it is time to awaken." "Morning Glory, Morning Glory," they called. But she did not answer. She was sound asleep. "That is strange," said the Rose. "I wonder if she has gone to sleep, never to awake. I have heard of such things happening." After 2 or 3 mornings, the other flowers ceased to notice Morning Glory, for they thought she had ceased to be one of them. but the wise Sunflower kept her own counsel. She knew that Morning Glory had to sleep all day in order that she might not miss the sun. But, as I told you, she was wise enough not to complain, and she kept his love for her by doing so.